Are you considering a move to Bentonville, Arkansas? Is your employer requiring you to move and relocate to Bentonville, Arkansas? If that's the case, my friend, then this video is most definitely for you. I will deliver to you today 5 different factors that you should consider when looking at Bentonville, Arkansas as a potential next step in your life path or your career path. No matter where you're relocating from, either it could be a complete and total headache, or it might be an extremely fun adventure for you and your family. My family and I have relocated not once, but twice to the Bentonville, Arkansas area, and I've relocated across the country for school, for jobs, and of course, to continue relationships. The reason I tell you that is because I'm coming from a place of understanding, my friend. I was just like you in a position of, should I relocate to Minneapolis? And what did that look like for my family and I? What does the relocation process look like when it comes to relocating specifically to Bentonville, Arkansas? And that's what we're going to dig into today in no particular order. The first factor to consider when relocating to Bentonville, Arkansas is acclimating to your new environment. I know it can sound very simple, my friend, but when you're moving to a new area, you have to figure out a new doctor, a new dentist, a new person to cut your hair, a new place to get your bride some flowers. You know, what does the crime look like in that new area? Let's sit there on crime for a second. You know, I have many clients that move from across the country, and of course, crime is subjective to the individual. I'd encourage you to go to crimegrade.org and look at your specific area versus Bentonville or versus Bella Vista or one of the surrounding cities that you're looking to consider a move to. A client of mine recently was in town shopping around, looking at properties, and noticed something odd. He himself has a classic vehicle and noticed that this other person at a local hardware store has a classic convertible car. And they noticed that they didn't put up the top, they didn't roll up the windows, and as you know, in most 60s and 70s cars, there weren't alarm systems in those cars, and they just left the car sitting there in the parking lot as if there was no big deal. My client saw that and thought, wow, talk about a freedom from where we currently are to leave our classic convertible unlocked, uncovered in a public setting and not have a care in the world to worry about. Now, my friend, I'm not saying there's no crime in our area. I'm not saying that that doesn't come without its risks. But the fact that those people felt comfortable enough to leave their classic convertible with the top down and the windows down sitting in a public parking lot should say something to you as well if crime is a factor in your area that you're really concerned about. Also, when acclimating to your new area, you need to realize that Northwest Arkansas might not have the grocery store that you're used to shopping. For instance, Costco. We don't have a Costco here. You'll want to travel down to Little Rock, over to Tulsa, up to Springfield, or even to Kansas City in order to visit the nearest Costco. We also don't have Trader Joe's, and Whole Foods is at a minimum, although we are getting one in Rogers coming soon. You'll also need to acclimate to the local weather compared to where you were. Now, recently we just had a major storm event come through, and my heart goes out to those who have lost their homes and people who have lost their lives from the recent tornadoes and weather that has come through Bentonville and Rogers as of the last couple weeks of shooting this video. You might not have tornadoes and straight line winds where you come from. You might have snowstorms or earthquakes, but that is something that you need to do when looking to relocate to Bentonville, is acclimating to the new surroundings that you'll find yourself in. It's a real possibility that there will be hail and thunderstorms on the regular during the spring and summer months. You're also going to experience 4 seasons here in Northwest Arkansas. There's also snakes and spiders and things to watch out for. But my friend, as we mentioned from the beginning, it could either be a nightmare for you, or it could be an absolutely wonderful adventure to take on and experience your new surroundings. Next factor to consider are the costs involved when relocating to a new area. That, again, we're talking about Bentonville here. Who's going to carry those costs? Is your employer going to pack up your items for you and bring them? Or are you responsible for hiring somebody to come in and pack up and move your items, maybe clear across the country? Don't forget about that other car that you might have to drive that you can't tow behind a certain vehicle. Don't forget about the cost of maybe not being able to find a U-Haul or Penske truck wherever you might be looking to move from. In 2013, I was part of a corporate relocation that took us from Northwest Arkansas up to Minneapolis, but my company paid for our relocation. And if you've ever been relocated before, you know that the relocation company or the moving company that is hired will come through and they'll put stickers on all your stuff. I still have stickers on some of the furniture and tools that we have around the house from way back when. It's kind of a fun, nostalgic experience when I come across another one of those stickers. The reason why they do that is they categorize each and every one of your items so that if there is a claim that needs to happen, whether something got lost or damaged in transit. We, for one, my grill was all broken up. It had items packed on top of it in transit, and our washer and dryer looked like it went through a hailstorm. So the relocation company and the insurance from my employer offered us money to help recoup the cost of replacing our washer and dryer and our grill. Now, if you're moving yourself and some things like that happen, they get broken or they get lost or left behind, now it's on you that's going to have to replace those items, and that cost is another factor consider when moving. There's also unforeseen costs. As you're driving through, there might be delays in the moving company bringing your items. There might be delays in weather depending on the time of year that you're moving. You might need to stay an extra night in a hotel. You might have to change flights. All of those factors are something to consider in your cost of relocation. Next on our list is my favorite topic, which is housing and real estate. Of course, when you're moving from one state to another, or from one side of the country or a different country to Bentonville area, you need to understand that there's multiple different types of housing available to you. You could rent, you could buy existing, you could buy new. Maybe you want to rent short term until you figure out just which Northwest Arkansas town is right for you. I have many clients coming here and helping them relocate to the area, both corporate relocation and they're relocating themselves to the area. People come and shop and check out our town. Now, my friend, if you're watching this video and you're early on, you're like, Anthony, I don't want to bug you, it's too early. I have people telling me they're not moving until 2026. I have people telling me, hey, we just arrived in town, can you show us some properties? That's a whole nother video, but yes, our team and I can certainly help show you properties to get you a little bit more acclimated with what some of the housing might look like here in Northwest Arkansas. If you're being corporately relocated, a lot of corporate relocation, whether it might be Walmart, Tyson, JB Hunt, that are relocating you here, or maybe you're a vendor to one of those major companies, they might give you a house shopping trip. Of course, talk with your relocation specialist that will be able to tell you just exactly what your company is offering you in their relocation package. When I had done a corporate relo, and when many of my clients do the same thing, my company offered me a house shopping trip. They flew my wife and I up to Minneapolis. Maybe your company would also fly you over to Northwest Arkansas, you and maybe a friend or you and your spouse, to be able to come and check out the housing in the area so you can get a better feel for the area. Take a tour around town, look at some of the local highlights, and experience what our town has to offer before moving here. One factor we're going to touch on in one of the next sections is resale of the property in which you purchase. Maybe it's going to be a 2-year roll for you. You'll move in, you'll do the roll, and then you'll get promoted out, or you'll relocate back to wherever it is that you came from. So resale is something to consider as you're looking at housing when you relocate. Many people, even though they don't have kids that are school age, or maybe they homeschool, consider what school district the house in which they're purchasing is located in. So when the time does come to sell, they consider the resale aspect of the real estate they're purchasing also. If you're looking at building versus buying, you should know that Northwest Arkansas, depending on the builder, it might or might not work out for you in regards to build time. I know many builders in our area are at least a year out from starting on some custom projects. So you're maybe a year and a half to 2 years before you actually could move into a new home. Many of my clients will buy a home, they'll build another one in the interim, and then once their new build is finished, they'll sell the other one, or they'll keep their original purchase as a rental. One metric to help set you at ease is when people are buying a home, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe millions of dollars, as a real estate purchase, is they want to consider the appreciation of the property. I did some deep dive analytics at the beginning of this year. Since 2009, including both the pandemic as well as the housing market crash in the 2009-2012 era, Northwest Arkansas has appreciated 5% per year. Now, granted, we've had some low years. We've had some super high years. One year, and specifically Bentonville, had around 20 to 22% price appreciation. This is an average Over the average of the last 15 years, Northwest Arkansas has averaged 5% appreciation per year. Now, again, I can't predict the future. That's not a crystal ball, and it never will be. It's always a baseball. And I'm not giving you investment advice, but I am telling you as a local real estate agent, here's what the numbers have produced for the last 15 years. If appreciation is a factor that you're considering when purchasing as you're being relocated or relocating yourself to Bentonville. This next factor to consider, many people ask themselves, what's the worst that can happen? Well, my friend, the worst that can happen, we could have a major catastrophic weather event. For instance, right now in Bentonville and Rogers, as the shooting of this video, there are many people that are still without power and without a place to stay because of the recent tornado and straight line winds that had come through our area. So that is a worst factor that could happen. Another worst factor that could happen is you move here and you absolutely hate it and you want to move back. But if you're like me, when I was relocated to Minneapolis, if I left the job prior to a certain time frame, I was responsible for paying back nearly $50,000 in relocation expense to the company I was working for. Another worst that could happen situation is you move all the way here, you start your new job, and 6 months in, your employer eliminates your job, or maybe your employer lets you go in some form or fashion. Now you're in a new area, in a new town where you don't know that many people, or maybe you're feeling a little homesick of wherever it is you moved from. My friend, let's flip the script on that. Instead of what's the worst that could happen, let's also look at what's the best that could happen. Always have that positive outlook on life, my friend. What's the best that could happen? I think we always go to the negative. Media always goes to the negative, but what's the best that could happen? What if you're like many of my clients that relocate here and they have found they have a much more comfortable way of living? Also, I have numerous stories of people that are relocating here, or whether it's corporate or their own, and then a couple years later, their family and friends follow them also because they go, tell me about your new area. What's it all about? And then they learn about Northwest Arkansas, they learn about Bentonville, and they go, I never would have thought, without doing some research, that Bentonville is exactly what it is. Until they've maybe done some research, until they've come and visited Crystal Bridges, some of our museums, some of the mountain biking trails, or life, what it's like here in Northwest Arkansas. What if the best that could happen is you get here and you absolutely fall in love with the adventure of the natural state? My friend, that is something to consider as you're looking to relocate. What's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen? Now, this might not be for you, but if you would, down in the link, if you're moving to Northwest Arkansas and you'd like to know more about our area, I've put together a relocation guide for you that if you click on the link, fill out your information, I will physically mail you our relocation guide. Now, my friends, we do that once a week. So if you request it today and it's a Thursday, we mail those out on Fridays. And last but not least, number 5 on our list, and I know it's going to sound a little sappy. It is definitely going to sound sappy, but saying goodbye is part of relocation. Maybe you're saying goodbye to a church family. Maybe you're saying goodbye to family and friends from years and years on. And if you're watching this video, don't forget, my friend, think about your spouse. Think about your kids. They're also saying goodbye to their friend group, their teachers. And that gives me a chance to say, Mrs. Moen, my kid's 3rd grade teacher, if you're watching this, the kids still miss you. We miss you too. That said, not only you, your spouse, or even your kids or other members that are moving with you are going to miss their way of life. They're going to miss their friends, their family. They're going to miss their teachers and people that they had experience with. So there is a bit of a grieving process when it comes to relocating to a new area. And just like you would have to say goodbye to your old area, I'm going to say goodbye in this video. But my friend, now you know a little bit more about what life is like in and around Bentonville. Thanks for watching.